Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving into a mystery that has captivated human imagination for centuries, how great ancient empires actually fell. Forget the Hollywood disaster movies. We're going to use hard data, modern archaeology, and advanced climate modeling to uncover the real truth behind the disappearance of some of history's most fascinating societies. Here is our roadmap for today. First, the myth of sudden collapse. Second, the Maya's lethal climate combo. Third, Angkor's transformation. Fourth, challenging old theories at Cahokia. And finally, the lessons for today's world. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The Myth of Sudden Collapse. Now we have to acknowledge something right off the bat. There is a profound, romantic allure to the idea of lost, abandoned ancient cities just slowly being swallowed up by the jungle or the desert.
Which brings us to this big, captivating question. Why do great civilizations suddenly vanish? It's a question that directly challenges that Hollywood idea of sudden, cataclysmic doom. Because, well, it's rarely an asteroid, an alien invasion, or a sudden plague that wipes out a thriving metropolis overnight.
Think about the legendary lost cities of the Nabateans of Petra, the Mississippians of Cahokia, the Khmer Empire of Angkor, and the Maya civilization. It's so easy to group them all under the umbrella of mysterious disappearances. But modern science proves these so-called sudden collapses are rarely what they seem. In fact, they usually aren't sudden, and honestly, they aren't even really collapses.
Section 2, Maya lethal climate combo. Okay, what's incredibly fascinating here is that we can actually use high-resolution climate modeling data to reconstruct exactly what drove the Maya's downfall during the 9th century AD.
The devastating population decline of the 9th century, where some areas literally lost over 80% of their people, wasn't just one freak event. It was a lethal combination of two distinct forces happening at the exact same time: a natural, multi-decadal drought and severe human-induced deforestation.
To really understand the human element, we have to compare the fully forested landscapes of the past with the heavily deforested equivalents we see in modern times. By almost completely clearing their environment of trees to fuel their massive farms and build those giant pyramids, the Maya inadvertently altered their local climate. Actually, scratch that, they didn't just alter it, they literally changed their own weather.
Let's look at the actual physics of that deforestation, because they are staggering. When you replace a rich evergreen forest with flat grassland, two major things happen. First, the albedo, which is basically just the Earth's reflectivity, jumps from 12 to 19%. Second, summer moisture availability absolutely plummets, dropping from 50% all the way down to 15%. Because the sun's energy isn't being used to evaporate water from trees anymore, it just bakes directly into the ground. This creates hotter, drier, and highly stable air that literally acts like a shield, repelling rain clouds.
The consequences of those physics are brutal. Without those trees, surface temperatures spike during the wet season by up to 3 to 5 degrees Celsius. Simultaneously, you see a devastating drop in crucial wet season rainfall. We're talking decreases of up to 20 to 30%.
Now imagine dealing with that self-inflicted heat and dryness, and then getting hit by an extreme, naturally occurring multi-decade drought. The Maya relied heavily on capturing and storing rain during the wet season just to survive the dry season. When you combine their self-inflicted drawing with a massive natural drought, you get a catastrophic disruption to the water storage they desperately needed to survive.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that neither force alone caused the collapse. The Maya were incredibly resilient, They had adapted for centuries. But total deforestation combined with severe natural drought pushed them right past their breaking point. It was a compounding crisis they simply could not recover from.
Moving right along to Section 3, Angkor, transformation, not collapse. We're shifting our focus over to Cambodia now to completely reframe the fate of the Khmer Empire.
I absolutely love this quote from archaeologist Alison K. Carter. She says, Angkor's collapse may be better described as a transformation. This hits the nail on the head. It completely replaces that sensational word collapse with a much more scientifically accurate concept. It was not a sudden, violent end.
So what actually happened? 3 precise drivers sparked this transformation. First, just like the Maya, paleoclimate research shows decades-long droughts interspersed with heavy monsoons that completely overwhelmed and wrecked Angkor's massive water management networks. Second, it was a strategic economic choice. Relocating the capital further south allowed rulers to capitalize on booming maritime trade with China. And third, there was a massive religious shift. The adoption of Theravada Buddhism totally disrupted the pre-existing Hindu-based power structures.
This religious and economic shift completely changed how society functioned. State-sponsored stone temples were halted and replaced by community-based wooden pagodas. And what's truly fascinating is that archaeological studies of the city's moats show the elites were already departing by the 14th century. The crucial point? The elites quietly abandoned the city's power structures nearly a century before history claimed the capital was abruptly conquered. It was a gradual decentralization, not some apocalyptic fall.
Section 4. Cahokia, Challenging Old Theories. Let's briefly visit North America, just across the Mississippi River from modern-day St. Louis, to see how modern archaeology is actively busting historical myths in real time.
Cahokia is incredibly famous for its massive earthen mounds and brilliant ancient astronomers who built timber circles to track the cosmos. For a long time, the old, easy assumption was that this city collapsed because its people foolishly exhausted their local resources, specifically cutting down all their trees, leading to erosion and ruin. But modern evidence is actively dismantling this oversimplified, almost victim-blaming narrative. Just like with the Maya and Angkor, fresh science proves the story is way more nuanced than simple self-destruction.
It is just staggering to realize that this complex Mississippian metropolis successfully supported an astonishing 20,000 people at its peak. Managing that many people required immense sophistication. Their gradual dispersal was likely a complex adaptation to shifting social and environmental landscapes, not some sudden resource crash. Finally, Section 5. Lessons for today's world. What does all this data from Mesoamerica to Cambodia to Illinois actually mean for us right now? Let's connect these ancient transformations directly to the very real challenges we face in our modern world.
When we look back at the climate modeling study of the Maya, researchers noted a deeply sobering finding. The Mesoamerican region has gone through a massive cycle. It was originally forested, then nearly entirely deforested by the ancient Maya, which, as we know, triggered their crisis. After they transformed and dispersed, the jungle returned. The region revegetated. But tragically, today, that exact same landscape is being heavily deforested all over again.
Which leaves us with this provocative question. We know exactly how the Maya story ended. Are we rewriting the exact same script today? The history we've just unpacked isn't just a record of the ancient past. It's a mirror reflecting our own potential future. When we alter our environment, we alter our climate. And as these ancient societies clearly show us, even the most spectacular civilizations must adapt to those changes or face a profound transformation. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember, always keep questioning the myths.